centering the fourth line. As expected, they're making a change on defense. Vincent Desharnais is in, and Cody Ceci. Saw a lot of that combination in the third period when they were down 2-0. They played more than 6 minutes together. Ekblad handled by Stuart Skinner. Losterinen kept in by Montour, and then a pass back for Lundell. He threw it on net, stick to the far boards. Tarasenko to Montour, and a stop made by Skinner. Now Tkachuk, who had just one shot in game one. High drive by Ekman-Larsson. Might have gone off the shoulder of Skinner and up into the netting. Has Ekman-Larsson joining the rush, but Bennett couldn't handle the first pass. Then Rodriguez collided with Carrick.
He's shaken up here.
For Reinhart, second in the league behind Austin Matthews, 60.
And welcome into the King's Court, Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Jerry's going to be joining us in about 15 minutes. How the heck is everybody doing today? Ryan and Sacktown coming to you live on X, live on YouTube. We've got a busy day. Condog, I am so glad to see you're feeling better and calling. I'm going to have you call after Jerry. He's going to be here in just a few minutes. And actually, I've got some breaking news to get to. In fact, I almost canceled Jerry Reynolds Tuesday for this news, so bear with me really quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Joey freaking Chestnut is not going to be allowed to defend his mustard-colored belt on the 4th of July in the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest. What the hell is going on? Are you kidding me? So he signed on with another sponsor that basically produces vegan meats. I'm not going to say their names. I'm sure you have heard of their names. And now Nathan's, although they were trying to, there's this clause in their contract. Don't get me into contract law. Do not get me into it right now, because I'll go 20 minutes on that alone. But there's this clause where you basically got to informally rep the Nathan's brand to be a part of the hot dog eating contest. What? That's like the blanket clauses in contracts that send you to mediation. Anyways, look, here's the deal. 4th of July, when you're younger, it used to be going out with the boys, right? It'd be getting on the river, getting on the ocean, having a few pops, doing whatever, enjoying the fireworks, being safe, always having a DD if you choose to have a few adult beverages. Then it morphs into something in between, whereas you get a little bit older and get married. You know, you start to have kids, and so it becomes about the kids and the fireworks. And that's what 4th of July is still about for most of us. But you know what is 4th of July for us? Waking up in the morning and watching Joey Chestnut stuff his face with hot dog buns soaked in fruit punch and slamming Frankfurters before you go out and barbecue that day. It is a tradition. I mean, did you think the WNBA not WNBA, but the Olympic Committee, the USA Basketball Women's Committee, leaving Caitlin Clark off of the team because she, quote unquote, does not have enough high-level reps was bad? This is the worst I have ever seen. How can you take, it was 7-time defending, 8-time defending. I mean, American hero. He took down, what was the other guy's name? He had the battle with him. See, that's how invested I am in this. Joey Chestnut, you might as well boycott the damn event. Who's going to show up to Surfing something Broadway to watch this event? Are you going to see the Ultimate Eater, the dude that paints his face, eat 27 hot dogs? I don't think so. You're there to see Joey. You're there to see Jaws. You're there to hear Bob O'Reilly as he gets introduced. And then you're there to watch him make sure that he doesn't have a reversal of fortunes. I mean, this guy sets a record every time he goes out there. I am shocked at what I have heard today, and there is no way that this is going to continue. Joey Chestnut has to be able to participate in that contest. If not, we might as well cancel 4th of July. What's the point? I mean, it's going to have a huge hole in the day. For me, this is 4th of July. The guy slams down more hot dogs in one day than I've eaten in the last 10 years. And yet I can't get enough of it. I get Matt Stoney, who's here from Northern California. He's a pretty good competitive eater. I don't mind him getting a shot to step up, but come on. What are you doing, Nathans? Not only are you hurting the contest, you're hurting your brand. This guy is the brand. Who cares if he reps a vegan hot dog place? Who cares? In fact, most places don't even carry those quote unquote vegan hot dogs that he reps. Yeah, they might have the burgers he reps, but not the hot dogs. Come on. These two need to come to the table and get it done. Usually I can have a fluid take, but as you can tell, I am flustered right now. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard this today. I had to do a double take. Like, is this right? Is Joey Chestnut really not going to be allowed to participate in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest? What are we doing? Steely, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much for the super chat. You have no idea how much that means. We always love donations. They're never necessary, but always greatly appreciated. Steely, last time we updated the internet, we're probably going to do something fun with that as well. So I really, really appreciate that. Doing well, my friend. We got a full show. Jerry's going to be here with us early about 2:15. Jerry. Dennis has been hitting me up in my DMs about some questions. Yeah, are you kidding me? Series changer? I don't know if it's a series changer, but that sure is a mouthful of words to be day to day. Somebody explain that to me. I mean, come on, that's a rip, right? Are you kidding me? You can't get rid of Joey Chestnut. He is the contest. Vegan. Come on, man. There's nothing wrong with vegan, Steely. I mean, it depends. If you go overboard with it, then maybe it's a little bit too much. But, you know, I told you Jerry's going to be joining us early, and he is right here. Let's bring Jerry Reynolds in on the conversation. How you doing today?
Pretty good. You know, just, kind of looking forward to some more basketball. Obviously, very interesting series so far. A little bit surprising, I think.
Yeah, how so has it been surprising to you? What's the biggest thing?
Well, I'm not surprised that the Celtics have won. I'm a little bit surprised in how well they've defended the Mavericks. Surprised and yet not surprised. I mean, I think we talked about, I think last time, the thing about the Celtics, they've got 4 guard wing players that can really, so, like the Mavericks like to create switches. Well, it just doesn't do near as much good against those guys because you're getting Jaylen Brown to switch off on the Drew Holiday, and it's like, well, good luck with that, or Derek White or Jason Tatum. And then with Porzingis healthy, if he's, has been, you got a rim protector. So I mean, but that part has surprised me that, that the Mavericks haven't adjusted a little bit better. And then especially, Kyrie has just been taken out of the series, by the Celtics individual defenders.
Yeah, do you think you've seen a difference in Kyrie? I've talked about the fact that he's been playing, I don't want to say second fiddle, but his looks have changed somewhat because Luka has played so well. They've really molded together. And now he's being asked to me to be a one-on-one player again, which he was 5 years ago, but he found a role kind of not doing that all the time. Is there a way you can get him involved if Luka is struggling?
Well, I think they have to have a chance. I mean, they just have to get Kyrie involved more productively. Certainly, he's getting enough shots. He's just not making enough of them.
Yeah.
And then I think, P.J. Washington as well has got to become more of a factor. Now, he's not a guy who can create his own shot. But I think what the Mavericks have got to do, as you pointed out, I mean, you're really seeing Kyrie trying to get all of his shots going one-on-one, kind of isolation stuff. And I don't think that's going to work against these guys. I think you really got to get him running off a couple of screens. That, like you say, they'll switch and they're good defenders, but at least you've got him playing off a live dribble as opposed to dribbling to get into a shooting position.
Certainly.
And that would make a lot of difference. So I just think that something like that might help him, be a little more effective and creative.
Certainly. I don't want to take anything away from what Boston has done defensively. In fact, game one on Luka, I thought it was one of the most brilliant game plans I've seen, with the late doubles, getting into certain spots and not doubling all the time. But the Mavericks are only shooting 24.5% from beyond the arc. They're down 6 assists a game. Is this as much about what Boston is doing defensively, or is it what Dallas is not doing offensively with their support guys?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I think that from the assist point of view, I mean, it's tough for Luka to get the number of assists normally that he gets because guys aren't making shots.
Yeah.
It's a catch-22. We've talked about that during the King season with Domas. You can throw it out to open shooters, but if they don't make them, you don't get an assist. And that's happened a little bit. But the other part is really is different for this Mavericks team in this series is they're not getting any lobs.
No, exactly.
They'd get 3 or 4 lob dunks in every series, every game. And, Porzingis and the the Celtics defense has taken that away. And that's been a big part of not just Luka, but Kyrie's been able to get assists that way. So I don't know, what they're going to do. I mean, my feeling is that part may not be there the whole series. So you better be driving into the basket area looking to score or kick out, try to find PJ for some open looks in the short corner a little more. I mean, that type of thing. So knowing Jason Kidd's very smart, and don't get me wrong, wouldn't be surprised if Mavs come back to win both these games at home at all. And of course, if they don't win the next one, they're done. I mean, it's unofficial, but they're done.
Well, it's hard to believe that they're going to be able to run off 4 of 5 against the Celtics. That is a very tough ask, even though the Mavs have been decent on the road this postseason. So let's transfer to what's going on here in Sacramento. A lot of talk about Sasha possibly not coming back and maybe going back to Europe. What are your initial thoughts on that, Jerry?
Well, I'd like to say I was real surprised, but I'm not. I mean, you could tell he probably wasn't a very happy camper for a lot of reasons. I think a lot of them his own fault. Nobody gets injured on purpose, so that he not his fault. But he wasn't all that productive for what they expected. And I mean,
yes,
I don't know. I certainly expected more. But I was led to believe that he was going to be more ready to play and contribute, and that we just didn't see that very often. And having said that, I mean, I would think it'd almost be to the Kings' advantage to, help him go.
Yeah, no.
I mean, if it's you're going to be, if you can certainly work out a buyout, a long-term buyout to where financially it'd be an easy pill to swallow, and then you could have that room later on. So because you got to figure with the Kings' needs, it'd be hard. It's hard for me to figure. I don't know how you feel, but that he would become really important in what the Kings need next year, because we've talked about that. Well, what they need really isn't Sasha. They need somebody longer, more athletic, a better individual defender. They need a couple of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings up I mean, if he's going to stay in the NBA, I mean, there's conflicting reports on it right now, and the Kings have not formally commented that I have seen. But in some ways, it does, and it doesn't change what the Kings need to address this offseason. We're getting some questions. We've got some questions. Is there any way to trade him, any way to value that if he still has any hopes of playing in the NBA, to where the Kings could get creative and use him part of a deal where a team then waives him or does a buyout?
I think there is. I think there are teams, but they're really good teams, already formulated teams that might be interested in basically a spot shooter. He's kind of a younger version of the Bojan Bogdanovic that was hurt for the Knicks. Now, I mean, he's not as good as Bojan was 4 or 5 years ago, but he's starting to slip. But I would think like the Knicks or thinking in particular of Philly or teams, or I think an ideal place as a backup might be somewhere like Denver. That, that's going to they can get him a lot of open shots and, basically kind of play behind Porter and maybe a little bit behind Gordon type thing. I think, so I think there's teams, there's players. It's all about a fit,
Yes,
for most guys. I mean, the stars is which wins for you. And also they'll fit about any situation, but it's the role players. And then, you see that with Dallas, with Gafford and Derek Jones. I mean, those are really good role players, but there are some teams they wouldn't be as valuable as they are in Dallas.
Exactly right. It's all about the fit. And we've seen that many times in Sacramento over the years where you got a great fit and a great team. And then we've seen the other side of that. We've also got a lot of questions like this, Jerry, because a lot is being built up on this offseason for the Kings because they have various needs. What does the offseason look like for a coach, GM? Take us through the timeline.
Well, for GM, it's really a busy time because especially let's just say with Monty, but any GM, because you're really got to prepare for the draft, so you're putting in a lot of time, making sure your scouts get all the information you can. And there's usually 8 or 10 players, by the time you're still probably thinking of 8 or 10 guys right now that you think you'll have a chance of one of them being there. And then out of that 8 or 10, you still want to do more work to find out which of the 8 or 10 would be most interesting to you, because there'll be 2 or 3 of those guys there. So you want to have those guys in line. You might be wrong, but you want to at least do your due diligence and say, if this guy's there out of this group, that's who we want. And then this guy, that guy. And then even more importantly, find out what that pick is worth around the league. In other words, you want to go out and say, look, we're considering moving this pick. And of course, you'd want to go into it with teams that maybe have a guy that you're interested in. Say, hey, we're interested in moving this pick if that would be part of a deal to get, Joe Schmo,
Sure.
who we're interested in. So you want to do that, and really you'd probably have 15, 18 teams that that you might go at with a little different scenarios. But that would be to find out the value of the pick, because 7 or 8 of them might say, yeah, we're not interested. We've got a pick and we've got, we want veterans, whatever. But at least you'd probably find where you might make a deal. So that, and then of course that the monk thing has its own life, and that's a scary thing, but that'll not a whole lot you can do there that you're not doing, I think. And then the mid-level exception, you have really got to scour the total free agents or players that have their option, guys that have an option, their option for $5 million, and that you think is a lot better than that.
Right.
Like Dallas got a Derek Jones Jr., for basically minimum, or Philly got a Kelly Oubre. I mean, there's guys out there, Caleb Martin. You want to look at those guys now. Which of those guys would really fit our needs, and a $12 million middle exception would probably get them.
Do you think yeah, no, absolutely. Do you think the Kings have an idea at this point about Malik Monk? Certainly they can't predict what the other offers are going to be, but they've got their ear to the ground and have to have some type of indication.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do. I think they have a pretty good idea, really, because the agent would know,
Yeah,
because I mean, not that the agent can be out there ahead of time, but they are. So,
always.
so
They're doing their job.
always, they're lawyers. So, we know how that goes.
Do I do?
Anyway, yeah, I think they do. I'd say probably at this stage, they're at most cautiously optimistic, at most. Because I don't think there's any way they could be optimistic at this point with the kind of the information you're hearing a little bit. That I mean, other teams are interested. What you don't know is if they're willing to go enough above to where it just be a situation where he has to go.
Yeah, and that's a lot has been made about his lifestyle off the court, enjoys playing golf, etc. But you hear about teams Detroit. We have a starting lineup spot for you, allegedly, and they've paid a coach a lot of money, so they're willing to open the checkbook to get that team better. And speaking of coaches, as Kings fans, I think we're kind of rejoicing that the Lakers have some cake on their face right now. Dan Hurley turns down the LA job, and the Lakers drop it to steal the thunder of the finals. What were your thoughts on that whole process, Jerry?
Well, I was really concerned that Danny Hurley would take that job. I mean, obviously he's a terrific coach. I don't know how well it would have worked. I mean, I think he's to me, he's a college coach. I mean, I think he's, it's great for the college game, his level of emotion. And I know at different levels, I mean, college is different. I mean, you really need to be more engaged and everything, but 29, 30-year-old guys don't want to hear it all the time. It's a little different, that's why a Steve Kerr or Phil Jackson, I mean, they, the Eric Spoelstra, a little bit more low key approach is good. I mean, having said that, I mean, I think Danny Hurley would eventually be a good pro coach. I think he is probably going to do that. I think he probably knows, hey, I've got a great situation here. I'm not making that much money, but I've got, certainly got a lot of security. And then going forward, they'll pay him more. And then if he wants to go pros, he'll have chances.
Of course.
And so there's no risk to Danny Hurley. And of course, he's got a chance to get a third championship in a row, which puts him in an elite category. Not that he isn't already, but I think it's the right move because, like I said, at some point, if he wants to go pro, and I think he's knowing the Hurleys a little bit as I do, they're East Coast people, and I could see him being the next Brooklyn Nets coach or Washington coach or Philadelphia coach. I mean, I think, or even Knicks if in a few years,
Yeah.
So I think that's the more likely a route for him at some point.
Yeah, I am with you there. It just doesn't make sense to come into the Western Conference. And quite frankly, the offer the Lakers came in at, to me, felt a little bit low, Jer.
Well, I was surprised. I thought it would be more, to be honest. Now, it's significantly more than he's making, and I think that's probably their mistake. They're saying, well, we're offering him quite a bit more than he's making at UConn. But, where they're wrong is that, well, UConn, if he went to UConn and said, I've got to have more, which, they're going to give him more.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask. He's going to get more. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I was surprised at the offer. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, it's generational wealth regardless.
Certainly. Yes.
70 million. I think most of us could plan ahead on that. But anyway, in today's world, that's the going rate. And like I say, you look at some of the coaches and that are getting 8, 9 million, 10 million. Well, not that he's done it in the NBA, but he's a big name get. And so I would have thought they'd have, tried to get him up there in the Spoelstra category or something, even though I'd rather hire Eric Spoelstra for that same amount, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you touched on some of the things that you have to do, or some of the landmines that college coaches transitioning to the NBA will sometimes step on. What are the attributes and the things that the most successful coaches that go from college to the NBA do? What's that magic sauce?
Well, I think, years ago, this was back before my time, even in the 70s, there were a lot of college coaches that went to the NBA and had great success. The reason, and I'm convinced of this, the Matas, Bill Fitches, uh, John McLeod, Cotton Fitzsimmons, those guys, they went in the league when quite honestly, there wasn't any coaching going on. The teams had been hiring guys who just weren't good enough to play anymore on the end of the bench, and they'd make them the coach. Yep. And make sure everybody got to the bus and the whole bit. That's about it. But these guys were college guys with experience, and they went in there and put in systems, really a good bit like a college system. Well, it worked for quite a while, and until it didn't. And then as the game progressed, players got more important, contracts bigger. The win one for the Gipper kind of thing didn't work near as well. And players, if they didn't like playing for a certain guy, if they were stars, they could force them out. And so now and it kind of progressed into the, guys that were experienced in the NBA, whether long time, assistant coaches, maybe had college background, but assistant coaches primarily, former players, assistant coaches, that type of thing, that seemed to have more success. Pat Riley, Phil Jackson comes to mind. Obviously, those guys, kind of checked all the boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. And not our dream, but what we think the Lakers should do is still alive. They haven't named a coach. LeBron could still be in the running. It makes all the sense in the world.
It really does. Actually, they could make him the head coach and then draft Bronny and make him the assistant. I think that would be my dream.
Yeah, right.
And then, and I think while you're at it, you might as well make him, the president of basketball operations, so Pelinka would work for him. Make that official. And
it would
just cut to the chase and move on here.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about it a zillion times, but everything goes through LeBron anyways. I don't see them making a lot of decisions without him signing off. Jerry Reynolds joining us for a few more minutes on Jerry Reynolds Tuesday here on the King's Court. We got into a debate last night, Grant, the NBA guru, and myself, about how much you like the game of basketball now, how it's played compared to how it was played back in the 90s, 80s, 70s. Jerry, where's your enjoyment level, and do you see it swinging back one way or the other?
I like it a lot better since the middle of the year when the officials kind of swallowed their whistles, and certainly there's calls missed, but the more physical play.
Yeah.
To where baskets have to be earned. If you score 110 points, that should be enough to win, kind of thing, as opposed to the 130 to 140, a lot of open shots, a lot of freebies. So I know that makes me a little old school, but I just like the idea that you have to earn your baskets for the most part. And then what I don't like as much is I do think there's just too much of a dependence on the three ball. And I understand it, but I really would like to see, and I think what you see when you get into the best teams like these teams now, they'll shoot a lot of threes, but they'll take the mid-range shot and they'll get to the basket. I mean, it's not like it's 3 or nothing. It's like the Houston Rockets were a few years ago. So I think the Warriors were always terrific at that. They wanted to shoot threes, but they'd gladly escape dribble and take a wide open 15-foot two, because that was an 80% shot. And so anyway, I think the only real negative that I have is like too many threes, probably, and I'd like to see more post play. I'd like to see big guys allowed to play like big guys a little more. I think that's that's been missed. And then just the the fact that just about every team plays the same. You know, there's almost used to be, and I know some of the young fans will forget this, but actually, you know, when you would see this, you know, back in the 90s, or you'd see the Spurs play, well, they had a style that was a little different than the Nuggets, and the Nuggets were different than the Jazz.
Yes.
The Jazz had their, I mean, so you saw not just really great players, but you saw different styles of play, not just push it up, look for threes in transition, get into a high screen and roll or a draw and kick. You know, it's
Very
that. I
true.
mean, really, that's 90% of what you see every night with both teams. Now, Boston and Dallas are a little different with it. Luka's going to control the ball more, but still going to be the same thing.
Right. Right.
And with Boston, it'll get moving a little more because they've got more talent to move it too.
Yes, they do. And they've been moving it really well so far. And the second part of that is back in the day, the old time Detroit Pistons, the Lakers, some of those teams hated each other, at least on the court. It seemed like they did not want any piece of each other off the court. Now the players are more lovey-dovey, we're all on the same team. Do you think that's better or worse for the game?
Well, that's a great
As a
question.
viewer.
And I've thought about that a lot because when I came to the league, nobody shook hands after the game, coaches or players. And I feel a little bad about that because I think, it had been a sportsman like gesture at least to go wave or something. But, basically you win, lose, you just walked off.
Yeah.
and the players that wanted to visit would visit after the game. I think it's gone a little too far. I like the idea of sportsmanship. You see it in college. I think to me that's probably a step in the right direction. The hate, the bad boys and the Bulls and those Celtics and Lakers, that was some serious dislike, and it carried over to the fans where it maybe almost got dangerous. But I think the Players Association is really behind it. And I to some degree I agree with them. I mean, it's like they are, you might be a Piston today, but tomorrow you might be a Cav. So that enemy on that other team will be your teammate at some point, and
Yep.
I think that is something that's only fair to remember. Of course, these young guys today, as American players especially, have all known each other since they were 16 years old in the AAU stuff. But to me, hey, go out there and shake guys' hand. Hey, you beat us. Congratulations. See you next time. And walk. That'd be enough. We don't probably need to switch in jerseys and hugs and I know I'm, but it's sort of I just about up Chuck every now and then. When I see
Well, yeah, you see these guys on banana boats together in the off season. And sorry, but the background noise. My dog wants to ask you a question. Apparently,
okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure
I do.
I'm sure he's got good knowledge hanging around you.
Yeah, he tries from time to time. There's no doubt about that. Sean has a question for you. Any regrets during your time coaching the Kings, draft picks, trades, etc.?
Yeah, of course. I thought, of course, when I was coaching, the biggest regret I had, I didn't have anything to do with it because I didn't want it to happen, but losing Otis Thorpe. He was a young star in the making. And I think at that time the ownership was financially struggling and they didn't feel like they could pay him. And of course, I remember saying, we don't have enough talent and you can't throw dollar bills out there at power forward, And so that was one. I thought that, and then of course, looking at probably the most two tragic things. I mean, the Ricky Berry suicide, who Ricky was going to be a major star. I've always said, and I'll still say it, he would have been better than Peja. He had more play. He could play off the dribble better and was even a little more athletic and had the same level. So he would have been a star. I wish I knew, why, just like his parents would like to have known.
Sure.
But anyway,
Sure.
that and then the Bobby Hurley accident that really cost him whatever career he was going to have. I think he would have been good. I don't know if he could have been an all-star or anything, but after that, it just wasn't any way his body would let him play.
Yeah, what were the plans around Bobby? Were they planning to build the franchise around him? Did they see him as that type of piece?
No, I think the thinking was that the team really needed to play more up tempo, and then get a point guard that could really create off the dribble in the open court and break defenses down. Find Mitch in particular, Mitch and Walt Williams and guys who had some really good perimeter scorers, and so thought for the future. And Bobby, I know, had been really impressive in the against the Dream Team. And I think we saw that early. His quickness and speed was terrific. I don't think he's ever going to score a lot, but I think he could have been an easy 10-10 guy, 12-10 guy. I don't think that would have been hard for him at all. So I always remember, like John Stockton had told me that he said one thing about Bobby. He said, I think he'll be really good because his assists are for baskets. I mean, he can throw. He said he'll throw passes for layups. And he said a lot of point guards really get their assists throwing it backwards or sideways. So I thought that was interesting, and I kind of thought probably John had some idea what the position called for. I think I've lost your sound there, Ryan. Yeah, I can't read lips, but I mean, if I could, I can't hear you lick.
You got me?
I got you
hear me
now.
Okay, that was
You
weird.
sound better now. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I thought you were looking good there, but it just wasn't words weren't coming out.
I was thinking you were going to say that I've never sounded better. I mean,
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. No, that wouldn't be true. It just wouldn't have been.
I appreciate it. Jerry, I think Dirk has a question for you. We'll bring him on really quick.
Hey,
Dirk,
Dirk.
welcome on with Grant.
Hey, Jerry, this is
Reynolds.
quite
You're
a
not.
quite
Yeah,
an
you're
honor.
not the Dirk though. So you're Dirk.
You'd be surprised how many people ask if we're related, and I
Yeah, I
say
bet.
that's not how names work. But
Yeah,
but
no.
anyway, so I actually have some questions involving the Pacers. Jerry, do you
Mhm.
pay attention to the Pacers? Just out of
Watch them a
curiosity?
lot. Larry went back to being a consultant this year for the Pacers, and so so that created. I've been interested in Pacers off and on, but since he went back to being a consultant after a couple of years off, that created a little more interest for me.
Interesting. Okay, so I've been looking at them for free agent targets potentially because they're
Me too.
similar.
Me too, by the way.
Okay, this is a good question for you. So it appears they're not going to be able to pay Benedict Mathurin.
I think they've got that's a great point. To me, they've got Mathurin, Nembhard, and Naismith. They've got three guys there that they can't keep all three. Now Mathurin is the most talented probably of the bunch, although I sure you could interest me in Nembhard pretty quick too, by the way. And then of course Tyrese already there. We're counting him and McConnell. I think those are the guys that for different reasons they wouldn't move. So they've got at least one more guard than they can pay or play. And
Yeah, so it sounds like they've already indicated they're going to extend Nembhard. I don't know what that contract looks like. It sounds like they could offer him what we could offer Malik Monk.
yeah.
And if they want to keep Obi Toppin and TJ, then at what point would they want to trade Mathurin? Would you write him out for what he's worth now, 7 to 9 million, or would you trade him now for future assets that you could get? I'm trying to imagine the new CBA and what these organizations are thinking, because I was curious how you think Mathurin would fit on this team.
Well, his talent would fit. I will say this: I think he's all-star level talent. It's also true. I think there's a little Zach LaVine there. He's a ball stopper. I don't know if he fits the Pacers as well as he might fit the Kings. I think Domas might, has a tendency to get the ball moving better. So in answer to your question, I think he's an all-star level player. I think I don't think he probably wants to be one of 5 guards there either. Due to his own talents.
Yeah.
So we'll see it. I think it's a great point. I think the Kings, that's a guy you really ought ought to find out.
Hey, Dirt. Thank you for the questions. Got to get Jerry out in just a second. We love having you on. So I got to ask you this question.
That's a great question, Dirk. By the way, I've been thinking
Dirk
about
knows his stuff. Yes,
thinking
we've
about
got
the
some
same things.
intelligent fans here. I got to ask you: do you watch the hot dog eating contest on July 4th?
Sadly, I do.
Yes.
Chestnut. I mean, that guy's he's a monster, isn't he? I mean, I don't know what level of sports you'd call it, but he's an all-time great. I know that.
Right? Yes. They just came out with breaking news. I don't know if you heard this. They are going to ban Joey Chestnut from participating in the Nathan's contest because he's sponsored by a vegan brand.
Oh, gee,
are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's like, you're going to kick out Shohei Ohtani or something from baseball, or
exactly.
You wouldn't let Wayne Gretzky play, be in the NHL anymore. That's ridiculous. He's the attraction, for goodness sake.
He is the event. I mean, you win the belt 7 or 8 times. That's why we tune in. We want to see him. We want to see if he's going to break the record every year.
Yeah, that's certainly I no different than anybody else. It's like most sports, if you don't have a favorite, you're looking at the superstars.
Yes.
In other words, if I'm not going to watch the Kings, I'm going to watch Jokic and Embiid. Those I'm looking. I don't particularly care for Philly or Embiid, but I know he's great and I like to watch him.
Exactly right.
That sort of thing. Or anyway, yeah, I think that is one of the. That's one of the dumbest things that they could do. I mean, that'd be like banning Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy from the U.S. Open.
Exactly. There's no contest without Joey. I mean, I was going to ask you this to close things out. No, we got to get you out in a second. If you had to be in a competitive eating contest, what would the food be?
Chicken and dumplings.
Chicken and dumplings.
Chicken and dumplings, baby.
Okay. Get the.
Just like they have at Cracker Barrel. That's almost as good as my mom used to make. So
that's high praise.
That is high praise. That is very close to what my mom used to make and my grandma. That she learned from my grandma. But chicken and dumplings, I don't know if I would eat fast enough to win because I cherish them too much. I'd go slow.
Yeah, Mama would not like it if you dipped it in water.
No,
she would be like, bad.
No dipping. So chicken and dumpling. I know there are not many chicken and dumpling contests, but if there are any, I'm on.
I love it. We'll keep our eyes peeled. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us as you always do every Tuesday.
Love it. See you next Tuesday.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate you, Jerry. That is the one and only Mr. Jim Bob Bowley, Jerry Reynolds.
Holy moly, Jim Bob Bowley.
Holy moly. If you knew what I had to do in the background, man, jeez Louise, that darn dog just would not stop going. Jerry's going to laugh about this. So my mic was muted. I was so flustered because I ran to the other side of the house during the Bobby Hurley question to get the darn dog out of the room. But what'd you guys think about that? Some really good questions, Dirk. Sorry to cut you off. Jerry had a hard out, so I wanted to make sure that we were respectful of that. But some very good insight there. Let's catch up with the chat really quick. And any questions that we did not get to, we will carry over to next week. I always go through the chat after the shows. Anything about that conversation stick out to you guys? Let me know. Awesome insight from Jerry. Absolutely, Lance. He is the man. Dennis, I know you had a question. I couldn't really fit it in. I will find a way to fit it in with Jerry. I promise that indeed. We're getting into competitive eating. So, see, it is a big deal. I told you all. Joey Chestnut being banned from the Nathan's contest. There is no contest. You might as well do a pay-per-view of Joey Chestnut against some randoms slamming hot dogs on July 4th. I bet it would do better numbers than what they're going to do with him not in the contest. This was a very interesting question. I was surprised that Jerry openly said that quickly that he had some regrets. Yeah, I hate it, Rhino. Those rivalries were where it was mean spirited, made the stakes so much bigger. It's the whole kayfabe thing, right, Adam? It's you got to believe that it's real, and they lived it. They're just too close these days on or off the court. Ryan, I have two cats. In the 6 years of streaming, they have never once interrupted any of my shows. You know why they haven't interrupted your shows? Because they're cats. You want to know what's weirder than them not interrupting your shows? You being a grown man with two cats. Come on, horse. Do better than that. What's next, horse? You've got like some litter box that cleans itself. I bet you're that guy too. Bang or BJ jumping in. It's just a microcosm of society turning soft with the love fest on the court and field. Jerry brought up a pretty good point in this sense that contracts are getting shorter and the group of agents is getting smaller. You see some of the bigger agencies really expanding. Clutch Sports with Rich Paul, just to mention one of them. Now, De'Aaron Fox, a Clutch Sports guy. So these guys stay in close circles. And then on top of that, they're working out together all of the time. Dude, Gordo is going to be in some trouble. And I'm going to have to talk to my wife about that too. You can't leave the dog in the bedroom. So Adam, he's saying he used to sit behind you and Granny's talking about Jerry. Very cool. The cool thing about them is they remember some of those things. We've had people come on where Jerry will remember interactions. Grant will remember interactions. I know both of them were very, very big on making sure that they hung with the fans. Zakara, what's up? What's the talk about Mathurin? Is he on the trade block? No, the question was, what are the Pacers going to do at that position? They're a little backlogged and cannot pay everybody. Chili burgers? No, Adam, not chili burgers. So Jerry loves Cracker Barrel, loves it, and I can't disagree with him. Cracker Barrel is pretty good. Sloppy Joe's, I'm not going with that. I don't think a Sloppy Joe contest would be that great. My bad, Dennis. It is a little bit past lunchtime. Yeah, absolutely, Dirk. Sorry I had to cut you off. I would have left you up. It's just Jerry had that hard out that I was talking about. So on a normal day, we would have just done some follow-ups. No, dude, if I took a poll of this place right now, I would bet more than half of the people watching do not have cats or like cats. I cannot. Cats are too finicky, horse. Go look on YouTube. They hide behind stuff. They jump out. They scratch their nails. It's just a mess. Right? Dudes owning cats is a red flag. Now here's the loophole. Unless it is a bald cat. If it's a bald cat, then I think it's okay. Let's see. Breaking news. The Kings' number one Waterboy Vezenkov has requested a trade per Jay. Not a surprise. We saw that writing on the wall, but that is a good thing for the Kings if he's requesting a trade. So I have not seen that. I haven't been looking at my phone. I haven't vetted it. But if he's requesting a trade, then maybe the Kings can get creative. And I don't necessarily mind that. That means he might not be going straight back to Europe. Dogs are brown noser kiss-ups, desperate for attention. Cats care and respect them for it. No, dude. Dogs are just more outgoing. Cats are just weird. They're finicky again. Sean, what food would I eat in a contest? You know what? I've got to go with Flores. And when I wasn't on a diet, I should say, this was always a big Oreo house. Oreos are the bomb. And I know I can't, should I say all that with a bag of chips too? I can't believe I just said the bomb. But yeah, Oreos, the new Oreo ice creams that are out, I tweeted this out. They have like a cone now, kind of like the regular cones that you can get, but it's all made out of Oreo. The drumstick, killer. Sushi, no way. Oh, Sea Dog's saying cats over dogs. Okay. So we're gonna let this debate rage on for a second, but first let's bring in our dude that's been sick for a minute. We haven't seen him for a while. So Con Dog, dial us in. What's up, dude?
Man, dude, I've been out. Yeah, so I had a little bit of a respiratory infection, and then I still have a lingering cough at the end, and then I also had to take my dog to the vet on Monday. Just been a lot of everything.
Dude, you look like you lost a few pounds. You look like you've been through it a little bit, my man.
Probably, waking up in the night coffee and just, not fun. But you know what? Corn dog eating contest. Let's go.
Yeah. We do have some breaking news, by the way. There is a third dog now in the King's Court. We have Corn Dog, we have Sea Dog, and now we have CT Dog. So,
hey, you know what? If that doesn't prove that dogs are better than cats, because nobody puts cat in their name. Except for Carl Anthony Towns.
In their name, yeah. And Minnesota wants to get rid of him. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. So what's up, man? What do you want to talk about? It's been about a week since we've touched bases.
Oh, man. Honestly, dude, the Mavericks, they have got to get these 2 home games. And honestly, the second game, I thought they almost had it, but they just couldn't find any offense without Luka. And, Kyrie's still kind of struggling. They were struggling at the free throw line. If they would have made those, it might have been closer. They might have been able to pull it off. But, as a Kings fan, we've seen that, free throws costing a close game. We've seen that all year.
Yeah, it's for me, the big thing that's been off about Dallas, notably, is pace. It seems like they're scared to play with any of it, and I get why, because of the transition defense that Boston has been playing.
Their transition to offense is amazing. Yeah,
it's really good, but then you look at the fact that Dallas, even though they're not playing great defense, they're turning over the Celtics a decent amount. That starting lineup has been turning it over a decent amount, but yet they're not capitalizing on points off of turnovers. So it just doesn't feel like they have an answer. Maybe with Porzingis day to day, I don't know what happens with him. Maybe that changes things. They get back on their home court, but it is looking grim. And I picked Dallas in 6 in this series.
Yeah, I picked Dallas too, but that was mainly more of a heart pick than a brain pick, because obviously Boston's been the best team all year, and they're the only 60-win team, and they were pretty much front running first place for ever. Like, I think the whole year, like it was just like 2008 again, where they front ran the whole year.
Yeah, they have, but at the same time, the fact that they were able to make some of the moves that they have with Porzingis, with Drew Holiday, how you get rid of Drew Holiday in your Milwaukee, I don't understand. He is tailor-made for the postseason, and you're seeing it here. But this is going to be Boston's year. This team's not going to be together forever. They're not going to be able to maintain that payroll, so they got to do it now.
I saw, what's funny? I actually want to talk about this just because I actually think it's not a bad take. I saw a post from Skip Bayless about saying it may be time to consider Drew Holiday better than Dame. And you know what? I don't think it's that bad of a take if, Drew Holiday goes to Boston and they get over the hump, and how he was in Milwaukee and they actually won, and Dame goes to, teams up with Giannis, his first superstar teammate, and they get bounced out. I'm not saying that, Dame's a bad player, he's not a Hall of Famer or anything, but you know what, sometimes you don't need better players. Sometimes you need guys that fit your system, or you need those dogs that are out there to, make those defensive plays, and he's that guy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to go there. I guess.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's that terrible of a take from Skip, actually. But
yeah, his stuff's usually pretty bad.
His stuff's usually way worse. I could see where he's coming from. Getting a team need sometimes can just really turn the tide more than getting just a better player. Look at the Phoenix Suns; they got rid of team need, a playmaker in Chris Paul, and got another scorer.
But I'm going to leave Dame out of the conversation, Jay, but Giannis is slowly approaching Embiid territory. He's slowly approaching those dudes that you can count on not playing.
Honestly,
like the dudes missed the last couple playoffs.
I'm kind of
3 or 4 years, I believe.
Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in both Embiid and Giannis's career. I mean, Embiid hasn't even seen a conference final, and Giannis has only seen the finals once. And the East has not been, that juggernaut. I mean, the Heat has made it to the finals and Eastern Conference Finals as 8, 7 seeds, and they've just somehow sucked the life out of a lot of these teams, and even that one Hawks team too. Then they almost beat the Bucks that year too if Trae Young doesn't roll his ankle. I'm not saying they would have, but Trae Young did roll that ankle, and he was on fire that playoffs.
Yeah. I give him another year. The injuries I get, Dame hasn't sniffed the playoffs like that in a while, and I credit to Dame for coming back and playing that last game. He could barely give it a go from everything we were hearing. But like Drew just feels like that guy that fits in. He can be a featured guy if you need him to be, but he's not going to be as good as a Dame Lillard if he's a featured guy.
Yeah,
but he fits in.
Yeah.
He fits in so much.
Dame is Dame.
Yeah, he fits in so much better with other stars. There's no expectations on getting Drew certain plays, getting him enough shots. He finds his shots, and he does it within the flow of what his teammates are thriving.
I mean, those role player guys, they're super important. I mean, I know, some people joke about, just because they're riding the coattails of, great players, but Derek Fisher, Robert Horry, those guys were key guys on a lot of championship teams that, a lot of these superstars wanted to play with because they knew they could help them win.
No doubt. Cody's chiming in. Pelicans with Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, and DeMarcus Cousins was really nice. They were pretty nice.
That team, honestly, if DeMarcus doesn't tear his Achilles that year, they would have seen the Warriors first round. And honestly, I think that size would have been a huge mismatch for the Warriors that year.
Could have been. Could have, would have,
should have. Yeah, again, could have, should have, would have. Just having, two great rebounders like Davis and DeMarcus Cousins versus small ball lineup, that could cause a whole shift in just, size advantage that the Warriors wouldn't be able to handle. But again, it didn't happen, Achilles tear, and, DeMarcus was just never the same after it. He tried coming back. Hell, he even tried joining the Warriors.
Yeah. And nobody wanted to keep him, unfortunately. I mean, the reputation is well known sometimes on and off the court, but then when you weigh that versus the output of the player, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But I will say, I did not think him and Davis would work out as well as they did for that short time. So you are both right there. Any final words about the Kings and Sasha?
So, yeah, I just texted my brother that too, and my brother said yes, a perfect trade piece. Maybe we can get a guy that we want. I'll probably talk with him about it later. I actually think, if there may be a team interested in him that may want to use his skill set, because honestly, that man's got one hell of a quick release on that three ball. Oh my. Like, that is one of the quickest shots I have seen. He's just, never had a chance to really get any rhythm in Sacramento. I could see his frustration with, how Mike Brown, would you just use him as a break the glass moment, as you've said many of times on this show.
Yep. It depends. I mean, in some ways, Kings fans should be relieved. If he's requesting a trade, you might still get something for him.
If it does, sometimes you just got to say goodbye to a guy, and he was only here for 1 year. I wish him the best, but I want to free up cap space. Maybe I want Malik Monk back more than him, which I would. I would prefer, keeping Monk over Sasha if we're able to do that.
It's not even a thought.
Like nothing against Sasha. Malik Monk's probably the third best player on that roster, and he's the heart and soul of the team. As much as, Fox and Sabonis, run the offense more, but Malik Monk's that guy. He's the energy guy, and you need those guys, that's why they called Vinnie Johnson the microwave, he heats it up.
He heats it up. As long as you're not heating fish up in the microwave, then we got a problem. That's a right dough.
Oh, man.
So, hey, brother, I'm glad you're feeling better. Good to see your face. Continue to be on the mend.
Oh, yeah, I know, man. I'm still sounding, terrible.
Well, take care of yourself. I'm sure we'll be seeing you the rest of the week. All right, dude?
Yep, I'm feeling a lot better. Later, guys.
Good to see you, Corn Dog. That is Corn Dog, man. This dog has me retaking my cat take. I mean, cats aren't usually going to do this during the show. My goodness, what the hell am I going to do about this thing? Anyways, hey, I had one really big rido that I want to get to here in a little bit. I also want to get an idea of what you think the Kings need to address first. Now, with the news that Sasha likely will not be in Sacramento, it doesn't change dramatically what the Kings need to do, but it certainly makes them much thinner at that 4-3 position, which the Kings are going to need to fill. Obviously, Kuzma, a guy they're targeting, would greatly help there. But what about the center position? We keep talking backup point guard. What are the Kings going to do at center? Do they ultimately keep a 13th pick? Do they do something else? What do you think, besides Malik Monk, is the first thing that needs to be addressed about this team? You can put that in the chat. Also, the Caitlin Clark stuff. Are you kidding me? You're going to sit there and say USA Basketball that she didn't have enough high-level reps? Why don't you just come out and say that you didn't want to give her too much too soon? Because the WNBA has fumbled that ball with her. WNBA somehow was not ready for this wave of popularity, this wave of new viewers. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, USA Basketball doesn't want to hop on board with Caitlin Clark. How can you say she doesn't have enough high-level reps when she's the all-time leading scorer in college basketball? Explain that to me. She doesn't have enough WNBA reps? Is that what you're talking about? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And again, I do have a big rido that I think is going to hit home with some of you. You might not like me after I have this one, but first, let's bring Jay into the conversation. Nice new background. How you doing
Thank
today?
you. Yeah, I tried some new out. Is it reading the right way? Does it say?
Yeah,
Like,
you're good, brother.
okay, so perfect. Yeah, the Caitlin Clark thing is crazy. It's not a good look for the WNBA for sure. Snubbing her because she hasn't had enough, what was it, high level reps?
High level reps.
Are you
Define
kidding me?
high level rep. I mean, what more could she have done? She's played
She has
AAU her entire career. She's been in the NCAA tournament. She's the all-time leading
scorer. Yep. Hey, I'm just as baffled as you, honestly.
It's crazy. And who's gonna be watching? Grant brought this up last night. She would probably be one of the only reasons that you would watch the women's Olympic team.
That's a very good point. And like I think Grant said it, internationally, you're putting the WNBA out of focus. What's up, Stilly Beats? Instead of just the US, we're all focused on, the viewership has gone up in the US with the WNBA. On an international scalability level, it would further continue that growth if you put her on that roster. She doesn't even have to get as much minutes as a veteran would, but just the name alone would gather so many viewers to watch.
Yeah, no, dude.
I don't run that business. And
you know what? I just, they're coming out with a new league. Some of the WNBA players are investors, creators of it. It's going to be a 3-on-3 league. It's very popular overseas. They're bringing a domestic version here, and the pay is going to go way up for the girls. I think it's going to be twice what a WNBA minimum salary is. So, look, if the WNBA isn't going to handle it right, which they've completely dropped it, and now USA Basketball has dropped it too, somebody else is, and it's going to leave room for that other option.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it from a deeper perspective, a further outlook, take yourself outside the lens of just thinking WNBA. When you look around in America, what women's sports are being nationally televised?
Not many. Tennis,
professional
golf.
I don't see professional softball like the MLB, women's soccer. First of all, the MLS doesn't even get that many viewers, let alone the women's soccer league. There's no women's football league. There's no women's hockey. The WNBA is the women's sport in America when it comes to the highest viewership from a professional sports, view. So by you taking away one of the most anticipated, exciting prospects of all time for the WNBA and eliminate her from an international level, it just doesn't look good, especially when you can bring so much in. You can take America by storm because you don't really have many competitors in the first place, and really establish some roots for the WNBA in the future.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I've seen a couple comments about it being a bigger social issue. I don't disagree with that. It's probably a bigger conversation than I want to have here on the King's Court. Maybe do that on a podcast. But I mean, you can't help because there's no logical reasons
Yeah,
that
there isn't.
high level reps, not a logical reason. WNBA not being ready for more eyeballs this year, not a logical reason. There's things at play here that, come outside of sports. And unfortunately, Caitlin Clark is suffering from that. And I kind of feel bad for her. I don't think enough people are having this take. All she wanted to do was come into the WNBA and play basketball, right?
I don't feel bad for her. She's got that bag from Nike, $20 million. Like, she's good. I mean, I get what you're saying as far as legacy standpoint, but
It's
I know
not
she'll get it.
legacy. She's not even having it. People, society is speaking for her, right? Like, she's not talking about these bigger things. She's deciding not to, but people are, making assumptions about her. Oh, the WNBA needs to protect her. And, like, it's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta. She's a basketball player. Guys get it. Guys and gals. It's completely normal to get hard fouls, to have people target you if you're the new thing. Of course, you're going to want to test yourself against the measuring stick. Of course, you're going to be jaded if this girl's getting all this run and you've been in the league for 2 years and only have half the amount of money she's made, right? Like, in some ways, it feels like a lot of these women kind of think they've built this platform and now Caitlin's getting the riches from it. But in reality, I think it's kind of the other way around. Caitlin has rebuilt the WNBA platform because when was the last time you've seen this many WNBA games midweek on national TV? There's like 2 or 3 every single week.
The last time I've watched a WNBA game is when I was probably about 6 years old, and I went to go watch the Sacramento Monarchs.
Yeah.
And they are no longer existent. So
yeah, so
there it goes.
Weird stuff. It is what it is. What are you, a hot dog eating contest guy?
I am not, but I do know the chestnut guy. I've heard his name. I would say he's a household name.
Right?
So
he's the
crazy.
Jordan of eating. Like,
It makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, you did sign, I guess, a vegan sponsorship or whatnot. It makes a lot of sense.
It does not make sense.
If you're affiliating with vegans, you don't want to, trust me, you don't want to get into a debate with vegans. They are very sensitive.
Well, no, I get that, but I don't think this is coming from Joey. This is coming from Nathan's. They feel like the vegan hot dog is a competitor, and that's like basically saying Nike makes the jerseys for the NBA, but because you wear Reebok, you can't play in the NBA. Like, that's kind of what they're saying here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just don't see it. It's got me ticked off. Yeah, the very first Monarchs game, I was actually at some of the practices before the Monarchs had their first game, and I was actually at Goodwill just a couple days ago. They had a Monarch shooting shirt there from the first year that had like the patch on it and stuff. So
I was going to ask you. You brought up the draft and what we would do with the pick. And I know you've said a couple names that you'd be interested in, but I wanted to kind of revisit that situation. I talked to my friend yesterday about what we should do with the pick if we were to draft. And I don't know if you know or have heard of this name, but I believe it's Kel L. Ware. It's kind of a little difficult. It has like 2 syllables to his name and apostrophe or whatever. But have you heard of that name? And if so, what do you think?
I've heard the name. I don't know much about him. I haven't gone deep on him. Why don't you lay it out for us?
Well, basically, he is a 7-foot center. My scouting report briefly is he's athletic as a 7-foot center. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because you did say, what are we going to do about a center position?
Yes.
There is obviously Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan, and a couple of other 7-footers in the draft. This guy is projected to go probably about 20 to 30. But if we were to keep the pick at 13, just from what I see and this guy's, potential, I would pick him at 13, and I think that would surprise a lot of people. You see Dennis right here saying where yes to him. So he's 6'11", 7 foot, very
Indiana
athletic,
guy. Yeah.
probably the most athletic 7-footer in this draft. And what's funny about him is he is not just an athlete. He actually has a very nice touch around the rim. He does a lot of drop step, spin around, turnarounds, high completion percentage. The opportunity to hit a three, even though that's not going to be his primary scoring position. But in ways, I feel like he's not going to make necessarily a direct impact on the Kings. But if we were optimistic about this guy, it's kind of a stretch. They're comparing him to Jarrett Allen, which I do believe he is better than Jarrett Allen, especially from an offensive standpoint. But I could see as far as maybe like a Brandon Ingram at 7 foot when it comes to the ability to score in the mid-range and low post. Not necessarily he's the ball handler, but you can put him in an ISO in the mid-range, area of the floor and the low post, just because I've seen him make a lot of those difficult shots when he's being double teamed, triple teamed. He has a very good feel for the game. It looks like it comes natural to him.
I will say this, the little that I've seen from him, he's really good with the pick and roll. And I don't want to liken him to JaVale McGee, but he does have the skill set to go above the rim and get the lob, kind of like you're seeing Gafford.
I could agree with that. With the athletic point, because JaVale's 36 and he's had some crazy plays this season.
Yeah, no, he still did have some crazy plays, and I don't want to put a direct comp on him. I'm not saying he's JaVale McGee. He's just much better with the pick and roll there. He's an Indiana guy, pretty good pedigree there. Only a sophomore, would have been a sophomore this year. I think the big thing really is the 3-point game, and that's what I've seen. Or I'm looking at a couple things here. The ceiling depends on what his 3-point game can do, which then now depends on whether or not he's going to work out with Sabonis, because you need a big that can shoot the three to spread the floor for Sabonis. Probably.
Yeah, that's very understandable, especially in today's NBA with the 3-point becoming a crucial way of scoring. I do feel like if I were to invest, because he's an investment, really, if these players are investments, we're believing in them, we want to protect them, keep them healthy and develop them. If I were willing to invest into him, I don't think the 3 would be my number one priority. I think that'd be second fiddle, especially being that he's not going to be like a Kevin Durant type of player who's like 6'10" and doing all
playing
this
on
crazy
the wing.
type of stuff.
Yeah,
I think he could. I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, the NBA trainers are getting better, and all these players, look at Karl Anthony Towns, like these 7-footers are becoming more versatile on the floor. But it wouldn't be my number one priority to make him a 3-point shooting big, just because a 7-footer shooting a 3-pointer off the dribble is going to be a little bit more difficult. I do think spot up threes are going to be
like
different.
a Lopez,
right?
Yeah,
exactly. I think that the off the dribble is where it's going to be a challenge. He said he sees Anthony Davis in him.
I saw that, Dennis.
I don't know if I'm not disagreeing that he has the potential to become a caliber player like that. I think, if anything, he's better athletically than Anthony Davis. This guy he can jump out the gym.
So I pulled up one of my sources who was at what he called quote unquote Bronny Bine. I asked him.
That's what it was, really.
Yeah, I asked him for a sentence on the different guys that he saw or he had scouted that are listed on the NBA.com website under the draft profile, and his sentence for him is above average post moves, which to me is a big deal, because that means that you are
that's the professional way to say it.
You are very fundamental. You have good footwork, which is very much in line with what you have with Demonis, what you have with De'Aaron. What's
crazy is I agree with that, and that's what I meant by a feel for the game. Now, I wouldn't call it very fundamental, and that's not in any negative way, because when I think of a very fundamental big man, I think of someone like Tim Duncan. I think his athletic ability allows him to like I said, kind of be like a Brandon Ingram or Kevin Durant in a low post situation. You're not going to see him drop step and then power dunk to the rim. Like
Well,
a
it's not so
fundamental
much, just to clarify really quick, there's two parts that go into that, or at least, especially like when I've talked with scouts. Also, it's what you're talking about, the actual post moves, but it's deciding on the right decision quickly, depending on where the
Yeah,
guy is
he does
playing
definitely
you.
have good, like you
And
said, in that pick and roll too. That
yes,
just is a credit to his playmaking ability as well, making
could be
those
an
good
interesting
decisions.
pick. I mean, we'll see if the Kings bring anything out on him that's negative. If you start hearing negative things about these guys, that means that teams usually like them.
Yeah,
Um,
the only negative when I was looking on him was it was mainly from his freshman year. He played at Oregon, which is a rival because I'm an Oregon State Beaver over here. But they said he was a little bit soft and lackadaisical with the effort, like as if he got discouraged. But that's always coachable, like we were talking about yesterday. The mental with the tennis guy, I think with Baki or whatever, that mental concentration that's going to
Alcaraz.
change.
Yep. No doubt. No doubt. It should be interesting. I mean, the Kings are going to have options at 13. It just depends on what's
And I
the
think
right
honestly, we're not even going
option.
to use that pick this
I
year.
don't think we will either.
I think there's about an 80% chance that we trade it.
They are active. Look, there's no secret the Kings are looking to move that pick, which means they are active in a lot of conversations. I thought, did anybody else notice what Jerry said about Malik Monk? That's the first time I've heard Jerry go on record with saying, yeah, it's not looking really great. They're cautiously optimistic.
Wait a minute. Can I throw this out there just as a little to stir
Yeah,
up the pot, I guess you could say?
please do.
Malik Monk has a summer kids camp scheduled for June 30th at Hardwood Palace in Rockland. He loves the kids. He loves Sacramento. He loves the community. So who knows? That's a big commitment right there.
That ain't no commitment, dude. Malik Monk. Okay. So just for the record, I ran, or I shouldn't say I ran. I was part of running Mike Bibby's camps when he was here in Sacramento. And I love the Bibbinator, but they show up for a couple hours and everybody else is doing everything else. So, but it is good he's having one in Sacramento. Usually they'll do one in their hometown and then also one wherever they're playing. But you'll expect the media will definitely be in full force at that event.
Yeah. I know we got to dip real soon, but what did you think about the Adam Silver comment on Game 2 about NBA expansion?
I didn't. Well, is it about what I did my podcast on, or did he make a separate comment? Are you talking about his press conference?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, where he basically said, the big thing has been we got to do the CBA. Where's my camera? We got to do the CBA. Then we've got to take care of what was the media rights deal, and then we'll talk about expansion. I didn't like, and I know he's got to do it, but talking international outside of Canada, I think that the NBA is way too far out on that. In terms of his comments about owners being worried about diluting the product and diluting talent, that's bullshit. There is so much talent out there that's being left
I disagree
out
with
of
that as well, Rhino.
The NBA. Look, Adam Silver has a job because of the owners, so he has to protect their investments as well. But
it gives so much more opportunity for these guys.
Correct. We're not talking about football.
Like Bazankov might actually get playtime in Mexico City, where he was saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we're not talking about 53-man rosters, right? We're talking about 14 to 16. So there is more than enough guys that are capable of playing in the NBA, the G League. Yes, so it's better for basketball. The slam dunks seem to be Seattle and Vegas. I don't see any way the NBA expands without giving Seattle another team, and I think they deserve to have another team. That's a loyal fan base out there. Now, Vegas will be the interesting one. We've talked about the LeBron James possible ties.
I think Vegas is going to be on there. I think what will happen is Seattle and Vegas, and then you'll probably have New Orleans and Minnesota relocate to the Eastern Conference. But I think they see what Vegas has done with the NFL, the NHL, sports betting capital of the world. I think it's inevitable that is such a money grab, especially for the local casinos. With the sports betting, there's 82 games in a season, and you're also, not to mention, going to get an MLB team, whether it's the A's or they want a new team. That's going to be another, team out there. But I think Vegas is a no-brainer, and I think it will eventually happen. And Seattle as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They're going to have to look at the leagues and the way they redefine. And if they do relocate teams, then you've also, if you are going to throw out the fact that you're thinking international, you've got to take that into account as well.
Yeah, they said Mexico City, and I looked on the map, and that is really deep down in Mexico. Like, I thought it was closer to the edge of Texas. It's
No.
deep.
It's much more deeper than that. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Adams, I thought overall the press conference was good. I thought it was funny that Tim Bontemps asked 3 or 4 questions. He had 2 or 3 follow-ups than the guy after him, because the whole thing, you're only supposed to ask one. And the guy after him was like, Adam, I just have one question. And everybody starts laughing. I'm like, burn. But expansion will be here soon enough. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens for sure.
All right, brother. I appreciate the call. Be well.
Yeah.
All right. Jay, always making the show better. How good can the Seahawks defense be this season? They always find a way to be pretty darn good, Cody. I know there is a big expectation with the defensive head coach rolling in there and a first-time offensive coordinator. Look, the Seahawks offense is going to have to rely on the defense. So if the defense is not good, there's nothing on offense that's going to blow you off the field. Gino is a game manager. He's done a great job. Stop it. Hey, when was the last time you guys won a championship? Just asking. Cat guy. When was your last championship? I can't remember. You see that ring right there? Yeah, right there. You see that ring by the helmet? I don't think you've had one of those in 30 years. So stop. Legion of Boom was one of the best defenses of all time. You can't argue that, just like you can't argue the San Francisco offense, Montana, all those guys, Rice, Taylor. Come on, man. This cat guy saw them win 5 rings. Yeah, well, good. Who knows? It's this year or bust for the 49ers. They're going all in with Christian McCaffrey. All right, we're going to do one ride, though, and then we are going to wrap up for the day. Great stuff with Jerry Reynolds. Sorry about the interruptions with the dog. We will make sure that does not happen again. But I got to bring up a big bugaboo of mine. It is a big ride of mine. There's certain things that you always need to be clean, and it always needs to be sanitary. And one of those things is the way that you take care of your food, storing your food, handling your food, making sure you're not cooking with ingredients that are expired, right? You're doing all this due diligence, making sure your plates are clean. Oh, wait.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
If you are in the group of people that do your dishes with this disgusting, just germ-filled, mold-building, food-stained monstrosity, I must ask you, why do you even do your dishes at all? Just put your dirty dishes back in the cupboard the way they are. I would much rather know that the stuff that is on that plate is from the day before and it's not weeks old remnants of some broccoli, maybe some fish, a mold smell. There is no room in this house or any house that I ever want to be in that uses the dirty, old, disgusting sponge. I mean, are people still using sponges? And what's the protocol if you're going to use a sponge? Shouldn't you be washing that thing every single time you use it? And don't tell me that because soap seeps into it, that it stays sanitary, because it doesn't. You can almost smell someone's house when you walk into it if they are sponge users. Yes, now there is some room for negotiation here. Scrub Daddy, I get it. It takes the place of the wire brush. Now, our family, for instance, we use a dish brush that we can pop the end of the brush off and put in the dishwasher. But you know the difference between my dish brush and these disgusting sponges is that the dish brush actually dries. These things never really get dry. And if you're a sponge owner, don't tell me that you change your sponge out every week. There is no way some of these sponges that some people try to slide past me and ask, I go over for dinner. Hey, can I help you clean the dishes? And then they show me a sponge and I say, where are the gloves and where are the paper plates? They're so gross. Can't we find a new invention besides these? I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to put you down if you use a sponge. I just hope you literally have like a hygiene protocol for that sponge, because throwing it in the dishwasher is definitely not getting it done. I cannot stand sponges, and I can't believe some people are still using them. Haunted Horse, the topic should have been discussed when Jerry was on. I'm going to break down the sponge germ defense. There's no way to break it down, because then anything that you're soaking the sponge in, it takes on that smell and it doesn't go away. So I was just surprised when I went over to somebody's house, because you know how like you leave your clothes in the washing machine too long sometimes, and then they get kind of that weird kind of sweat mold smell. Yeah, the sponge had that. Not only that, the sponge looked like it should have been in a museum. I mean, this thing like was 3 different colors. You get the point. Can we upgrade, please? Yes, Haunted Horse, I see your Seinfeld reference. Well played. But can we upgrade to a brush? If you're a sponge person, reach out to me. There is help. There is hope. I can get you a brush. And then, by the way, your hand doesn't have to smell like that disgusting sponge every day of your life, because you know it does. You know it does. Anyways, it has been a fun day. We've been a little bit all over the map. My dog chimed in. A huge thank you to him for breaking the broadcast up. But thank you to all of you. And a huge thanks, as always, to Jerry Reynolds. Always so kind to join us on Tuesdays here on the King's Court. We do not, I believe, have any more shows today. This is going to be it. Grant might pop on for an open forum at 5. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. But thank you, Steely Beats, again for the $10 super chat. So greatly appreciated. All donations, proceeds to the channel go directly back into the channel in the product. So thank you very much, Steely Beats. And thank you to all of you again. Tomorrow, we will be back with an all new King's Court. We'll be doing some more draft profiles. I'm sure I'm going to have some updates on Joey Chestnut. I mean, that is an atrocity. The fact that the great Jerry Reynolds, you got it from him. He was embarrassed to say he watches the hot dog eating contest, because it's kind of one of those things like wrestling. Like, you're just not sure like if other people are going to judge you for watching wrestling. Same thing with the hot dog eating contest. But even Jerry was just appalled. You can't have it without Chestnut. You just can't do it. So anyways, for Jerry, for everybody that called in, for everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Again, make it a great rest of the day. Tadora, play us out.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
Yes, indeed. Go Kings. Light the damn beam. I've got some business to handle with the dog really quick. Too much barking. And cat person, you still haven't convinced me to come onto your side of the street yet. Still a dog guy here. Hey, make it a good one. So long for today.